What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode number 430 of Underground Sports Philadelphia. It's Matt and KB coming at you. We're not live. As you guys are watching this, I'll have been at the Phillies game, so you'll see some content on our social pages there. But we got a lot to talk about with this Phillies team, with the Sixers, and a whole lot more. But before we get started, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at UndergroundPHI on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Castorina. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Check out the website, undergroundsportsphiladelphia.com, for all of our written content. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. And leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. And, of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel where you get full video episodes of every single Underground Sports Philadelphia show, including this one in video form. And hopefully this audio and video is not distorted because we're having a little issues as we're recording this on Tuesday afternoon. Big thank you to our sponsors who make this show happen. Main Auto LLC, Ducharme's Pro Foot, Security 21 Security Systems, Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated, Mark Ronchetti CPA LLC, and the Dental Wellness Center of Vineland, and of course Tomahawk Shades. You guys can go to tomahawkshades.com, use our code USP for 25% off your order from the homies over at Tomahawk Shades, and Kenwood Beer with the all new and improved Kenwood Beer cans. Go to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny tracker to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia area. You got to be 21 or older to do so, and of course please drink responsibly. What's going on, Matt?
Living the dream, you know.
Apparently, Doc Rivers is too, because his job is allegedly safe. But if you talk to the wizard of the deal zone, Brian Windhorst, it's not as safe as it was made out to be after the Sixers lost in Game 6 and losing the second round for the fourth time in 5 years. This series, like we talked about it last week, where, you know, Joel's injured. That's what you got to chalk it up to. It's just the way that they went out, Game 5 and Game 6, was so embarrassing that it just pissed me off that much more.
Yeah, it's upsetting. It sucks, too, because you listen to all the exit interviews, and it's about how this team isn't tough enough. And read an interesting article talking about how that was exactly what the Clippers used to say, you know, post-playoff exits under Doc, and that I'm sensing a theme here, right? And one of the complaints that we've had about Doc Rivers in his time here is that we've had these fluctuations in when the team seems to be unprepared, as opposed to some games they seem fantastic. And it's this inconsistency in the effort level, and I think that does start with the coach. And I don't really care for his I'm fine. You can write whatever story you want about how I'm not, and why would you challenge people to do that when this is yet another year that you've, I would say, underperformed. This year's not as bad as last season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his inability to get past the Hawks. At least you have a more valid excuse this season, but doesn't make it any easier on you as a fan. I had resigned myself, though, to getting knocked out by the Heat as soon as we found out about Embiid's injury. I just think, you missed the first 2 games with him in the series, and then he's clearly not himself. Really, if you even go back to the torn thumb ligament, 2 season-ending injuries essentially for him. I don't know, I don't know how anyone really expected this team to go beyond that, but I think, the focus obviously shifts now towards the offseason, and we'll see even what happens with the lottery tonight. I don't know when the Nets have to decide whether or not they're deferring our pick to this year or next. But so the Sixers could still have a first-round pick this year, which would be nice. If whether that turns into a young guy or we.
Would you prefer it to be this year, or the Nets take it this year and then we go?
So I think there's something with the step-in rule that if they leave it to next year, that screws us up. I believe because you can't trade, multiple back-to-back picks. So I think they kind of mess us up a little bit if they do that. I would like to have a first round pick this year because maybe you make that selection, something works, and you can trade that guy. Or I think it maybe gives you a little more flexibility at the draft this year, where I think you're gonna have your most opportunity to make roster change, right? Because Harden isn't going to be locked down on a deal, and you still have the rise of Maxey, and so anything you add to this can grow. I think this is the big opportunity this summer to make some real like tangible change within this team, and that's what needs to happen. We need better pieces. We need Harden to be better next playoffs. Better be in the gym this summer, working hard, and we just have to hope Embiid stays healthy. But I think like my perspective is going into next season, I'm a lot more optimistic than I have been the last few seasons. Like you go back to the bubble year, nothing good came out of that. That felt absolutely awful. Last season was emotionally crushing, and I think has paved the way to not feeling that upset about this year, simply because this team is like taken a part of me. I still have not recovered from that playoff exit. I don't know that I ever will against the Hawks, and just for me, I'll never feel that way about this team again. I really won't. And they've done it again, not getting out of the second round. It's frustrating, and you start to question whether this team will ever even make a conference finals, let alone win a championship. That's the thing that sucks. But
Brooklyn has till June 1st.
Right. So, I'm excited for the lottery tonight to see how that shakes out. But
yeah, happy lottery night to all who observe.
Yeah. What that tell you, one of my favorite nights of the year, used to be at least. But I just I still think this roster's good. I think they can take it good places. I think obviously we hope Danny Green, terrible injury. Maybe he's able to make it back next season, but that's something that's going to have to be contended with this summer too, because he was a rotation guy for you, right? Like
and a starter.
Thibault, who knows at this point where he's at if he's with the team next year. He has not produced at all offensively, which sucks. And even defensively, I didn't think was his usual self this year, and wasn't really as effective in the playoffs. And we've seen that in these high-level series, he's just so bad offensively that it's hard to manage that. I don't know what it is about these guys that we draft that can play great defense but can't play a lick of offense. It just makes it so frustrating. But you have Maxey, Harden, and Embiid, and you know what? Like, you can add Tobias in that mix, I guess, but Tobias seems like a candidate to be shipped out this summer. But Maxey, Harden, and Embiid is a good core to grow with and to make something work with. And you've seen good stuff out of all of them. I still think with Harden and Embiid on the floor together, that's a really, really strong lineup that can get you places. So it's all going to be about what they do this summer to get them back to where they want to be, which is really the NBA Finals, not even just conference semis.
Right. It's been since 2001. Like, let's inject a little life into this team. I talked about it on Sunday's show. I feel like one of the biggest issues with this team, probably since the confetti year, is that the depth behind, Embiid and whoever, now it's Embiid, Harden, and Maxey, just isn't taken seriously.
Yeah.
Like, credit to Shake Milton for actually stepping up in Game 6 and, like, showing a pulse. But to me, I feel like depth-wise, I feel like George Niang is going to be here next year just because he's under contract at such a low number. But I feel like most of the depth on this roster, outside of, say, Niang, B-Ball Paul, Charles Bassey, and Isaiah Joe, maybe, can all be overhauled.
Yeah. Like, the young guys you named there, too, I think I'm looking forward to them because, especially like B-Ball Paul and Bassey, I think another year, Paul Reed especially, like,
yeah. I
think if you get a full season out of him, we saw that he has the ability, right? He can play in the playoffs, which is
correct.
That's not easy to be able to do. One thing he has to learn to do, and I think he will get better at with more just reps and practice and actual game time, is the foul issues, but that's about timing, and that's about just understanding your positioning and where you are on the floor. So if he's able to actually get good minutes like he should have had this season, next year, it reminds me a little bit of Maxey last offseason, right, where I think so many of us were clamoring for Maxey to get more time. He did end up getting some time in the playoffs, and that was the springboard for him to actually become a regular part of this team. So hopefully it's the same for them. Yeah, the young guys I think are the only ones you can really pencil in. Jaden Springer is apparently catching some buzz now. You hope to see him getting some minutes next year, but yeah, I think there's an more expendable part of the roster than maybe we're used to seeing. But yeah, I just wonder what direction the Sixers take it. Going for a big star or something, or just trying to get those like mid-level pieces that can supplement you. I'm curious to see which direction it goes.
Now, obviously, Brian Windhorst said that allegedly Daryl's trying to go get another superstar for this team. I mean, you look at what you'd probably have to do to get said superstar. I feel like there's a lot of moving parts that have to move before that happens.
Well, the superstar has to be available.
Yes.
That's the one thing. Which, I mean, listen, every 3 or 4 months now, these guys become available. So it's not out of the question. Draft night could be a time where we see something like that happen. It seems very likely that, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert are going to be separated. Donovan Mitchell maybe on the Sixers, Bradley Beal. There's that conversation still. Now, Sixers are going to have to do some legwork to actually get the packages right for those caliber of players. But there are going to be guys available. DeAndre Ayton, not necessarily for the Sixers, right? But that's a guy that maybe is like a little bit of a domino for some other teams if he leaves the Suns. Yeah, I think there's going to be probably a pretty big move this offseason, in the NBA, and whether the Sixers can become a part of that would be interesting. Windhorst has been plugged in. He was the one, like you said, about the deal zone, about the Nets actually being locked in and trading Harden, getting Simmons, and so we'll see. We'll see if that comes to fruition. But there's a lot of legwork still to be done, I would say, because they don't have the asset package like they did. Tobias is not a like a gleaming asset.
Did help himself a little bit.
He helped himself a little bit. But yeah, that'd be the guy you really. But Utah isn't taking Tobias Harris for Donovan Mitchell, right? Like you'd have to.
Well, Utah's Wi-Fi is so slow that they are still reading Waka Flocka's tweet saying that he's the next LeBron James.
Yeah, perhaps.
Thoughts on Jimmy Butler caught on the hot cam?
So fucking stupid. Like listen, Jimmy Butler knows how to play for the camera. That's it. He's saying that for the camera, and you know what? He chose to let Philadelphia. That's it. Did we make mistakes? Absolutely. Like, I think we certainly could have made better decisions, but the idea that he was like snubbed and we didn't even extend him a contract is just ridiculous. Like, he chose to leave Philly as well. It was a mutual leave. Should we have been a mutual party in that? No. We should have been getting Jimmy Butler back, whatever it took. But fair enough, dude. I mean, I really don't care. I don't care about Jimmy Butler. I don't care what he has to say. He's a Heat player. Doesn't matter to me. So I don't care.
I wasn't even thinking of Donovan Mitchell in terms of the Sixers, but if you had your pick between Donovan Mitchell and Bradley Beal for this team,
I think Mitchell has something that we don't really have. Even Embiid doesn't have this, which is like, it's harder for Embiid, I think, to score like 47 in a playoff game. Like, Mitchell's done that. Like, Mitchell's had big performance. Now, defensively, he has issues, and that's part of like the, conflict between him and Gobert. And I think there will be other really big shooters, for Donovan Mitchell, right? He'll be like hotly contested, but I look at him, I think, wow, like, that's a guy that can take over a game. Like, and that's what you see it every time in the playoffs. We always get to this point where it's like, it just becomes who is like not afraid of the biggest moments, right? Like, you see with Doncic, right? Like, not that there's very few players in the league that are on that level, right? But like a guy that can just take over a game, like, and we don't have that. Like, Embiid is great, and I don't want to,
right?
But Embiid
it's also a positional thing,
right? But like, Embiid is rarely like taken over playoff games for us. He has before, but like, it's not. I would not call it like a regular thing with him. He's great in the playoffs. Don't get me wrong, but he's rarely been like unbelievable. Like, just like, again, winning you games single-handedly, winning you series single-handedly. Now, he's been a huge factor. I don't want to diminish him in any way, but I do think adding someone like Mitchell could be huge. Defensively, you'd have to work some things out, but I mean, Donovan Mitchell, Maxey, Harden, and Embiid, like, and then I think that'd be great. But it's gonna, that's
he's
hard
under
to
contract for
materialize.
one more year.
Yeah, I believe so.
I mean, he was at was it game 3?
Yeah, he's best friends with Niang, apparently, and you know what? Vibes are good.
Interesting.
It's better than Utah, I'll tell you that.
Did you catch any of Pat Bev on
It's again
ESPN?
a dude that has never accomplished anything in his career talking shit about. It's just stupid. I don't care. It's the worst.
I feel like those types of things are, the clips go on social media, and then it's like, oh, this guy's a dog. This guy has like that, fuck you mentality, and everybody starts clamoring for him to be on their favorite team because it's like, oh, we're missing the. He's a bench piece. He's no better than having Rajon Rondo on your team.
He's been home on vacation for like 2 weeks now.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Like
he's literally going on.
He's like one of those guys too that like loves to talk shit like that, but has routinely been like a non-factor in the playoffs, and has gone home early. And it's like, brother, you have not. Draymond Green gets to talk that kind of shit, right? Because Draymond Green has been there and is a great player.
Has rings
won
on
multiple
his finger.
championships. It was like a key figure in those teams, and still is now. Like could win a championship this year. Like you are not him. In fact, you're nothing close. Good player, right?
That to me was like
it's just weird.
His audition to be on TV.
Yeah, and they had him on again today because everyone loved it. And it's like I just that kind of stuff for me, I just don't care. Like the first take stuff, I could not care less. What I find ironic is like people that eat that stuff up also love to talk about how they hate like the hot take stuff and the clickbait stuff, and it's like you literally consume it
on the highest platform.
If they would not make it if it wasn't profitable, and that's what they do. They toss these guys out just to give these quotes that they know are just going to do numbers, and that's it. And listen, no shade involved, right? Like that's just what it is. But that's what it is. Like it's literally just words to get engagement. That's it. You shouldn't see it as anything beyond that. I don't like that it'll eventually like influence the way we talk about these players and their careers because again, that's not truth or reality. That's just someone. It's like Skip Bayless thinking Skip Bayless is a real person. Like it's a character.
Exactly.
He's just playing a character. They tell these people to like
pick a topic.
Up. Right, because if you don't, you're not going to be on TV anymore.
Yes.
No one wants to listen to someone that's just giving like
that is literally
level-headed analysis.
The first take and the undisputed meetings are here's the topics for the day. Pick a side.
Yeah, we're just like, how can you make it more?
Yeah.
How can you make this like as all-encompassing as possible? Like it has to breach multiple types
sectors,
of conversation, right? Like it can't just be about Chris Paul. It has to also talk about every other like famous player in your spiel. Like it is what it is.
The Doc Rivers thing is fascinating to me. We talked about it a little bit earlier too. Like the fact that he was supposed to be the hire to come in and quote unquote elevate this team to the next level, hasn't done that whatsoever, and is somehow safe with his job, blows my mind. I don't know how Daryl Morey and our scumbag owners can sit back and say, yeah, we're cool with bringing Doc Rivers
Well, it's going to cost him like $25 million to get rid of him now because they signed him to a massive deal, long years, a lot of money. I hated the signing from day one. Yep. I thought it was so stupid. This is a guy that arrived with a bad reputation, with a reputation for not performing with high-level teams, of not being able to like push them beyond just what they were. Like he's not an elevator. He just isn't. And I don't know what it is with Doc. And we saw it last year in the playoffs with his insistence on the bench stuff. We see it this year with his, again, just arrogance about B-Ball Paul and DeAndre Jordan. And it's exhausting. Like this team went back to it was so isolation heavy in these playoffs too, which is just not what this team is like. I hated it. I hated the signing. I hate that it feels like he's going to get another year. I do think like there is some potential truth to like what Windhorst has been reporting about, maybe it's not as like the finality isn't as clear behind the scenes about him staying, but I don't know who you get to replace him necessarily. Like it just sucks.
The weird rumor I saw was the Jazz coach,
Quinn Snyder.
Yeah,
which would be good. He's a good coach, I think, but
which I didn't even think he was available.
The Utah is going to have some turnover, right? Because they have like some new front office people. They got Danny Ainge there now. Like I think there's going to be, again, I would be really surprised if you go into next season and Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert on the same team still. I think it's clearly it's reached a boiling point where they're like very obviously feuding publicly now, but not really publicly either. But they clearly are. They clearly don't like each other. They clearly don't like playing with each other. Gobert's upset because Donovan Mitchell, in his eyes, hasn't applied to himself defensively. Donovan Mitchell's upset because Rudy Gobert isn't that good defensively in the playoffs, and is really not effective at all offensively. So, I wish Doc wasn't on this team. I'd feel a lot better about maybe our future if Doc Rivers wasn't attached to it. But
yep,
that's where we are.
I mean, it's my Villanova fan bias. I love Jay Wright here, but also like
He's
fact
on a beach
that
somewhere, Chief.
Sam Cassell has, like, just in general in the NBA, hasn't really gotten a shot as an NBA head coach. Blows my mind.
He'll go somewhere.
He'll go somewhere and be the next Ime Udoka.
That is just, or Monty Williams. So that is just how. That's just how we operate. Listen. We're great incubators.
We let the good ones go.
It's a bummer.
And then I said this on Sunday too, I'm just going to bash my head through a wall if we go through another summer of Mike D'Antoni rumors.
Yeah, I'm not
Can't do it.
I'm not interested in that.
But hey, at least the Phils are getting hot.
I mean, what the hell, right? Like, they go in, we're talking about how, this is great, but, they go to L.A., 3 out of 4 against the Dodgers.
Could have been 4 out of 4.
Nearly sweep the Dodgers. The best team in baseball. And I
win 2 out of 3 in Seattle.
Stupid. Padres tonight. I don't get it. Maybe they just have to stay on the West Coast. Maybe they're just a West Coast team. Maybe like they're on a weird sleep schedule thing or something. I don't know, but they've looked great. The bats came alive on the West Coast on this trip.
The defense has looked good.
This has been like a big reversal in the Phillies' fortune. Maybe it just had to be warmer. Who knows? I love what I'm seeing from them though, and like I said, I think you're just seeing more consistency offensively too. The pitching so far this year too, has to be said, has been largely pretty good. There's been some rough patches, but on the whole, looked all right. You're trending in a positive direction now if you're the Phillies, and we have to see how this progresses because we know how this team is. Yes. They have these really strong week and a half, 2 week stretches, and you feel amazing about this team. I can remember there's that like 10 or 11 game win streak, and it felt like, wow, this team is amazing, and then they collapse. So I'm not getting head over heels here,
right.
But it is promising, right? Like, this is, if you were selling yourself with the idea of the Phillies were going to look like this season, this is what you were expecting more of. And Bryce has been just white hot.
Like,
who needs a UCL? Like,
right. Like, he's been one of the hottest players in baseball. You have the official MLB account tweeting MV3 again. Like, that was kind of unexpected at this point, where Bryce hasn't even played the field in like a month and a half, and he's destroying baseballs. Typically, like, you expect somebody, if they're, one of your big-time hitters, let's say they hit 5 home runs in a month, Bryce already has 5 in the month of May.
Yeah.
He should be back Wednesday, which is good. And, I mean, it's pretty wild what happens when Rhys Hoskins, Gene Segura, and Bryce Harper are all hitting at the same time.
We've talked about Rhys, too. Like, his hot streaks can carry this team, and Gene's just been consistent. What's the hit streak at?
I think it's at 12.
Yeah.
Hottest hitter in baseball.
I remember growing up on SportsCenter, they would always say, like, anytime someone got to like double digits, they're already talking about
Mickey Mantle watch.
They're already talking about the Mickey Mantle watch, and it's just insane. I don't know if that's something they still do now, but he's been good. Yeah, I think again, this is the vision you had for this team, and you're seeing it. I can't believe they played that well against the Dodgers.
It blew my mind.
And it also pisses me off. And you know what I saw too is people talk about, people talk about like the Rockies series and stuff. They're like, well, they won 5 out of 7 Rockies. They looked completely out of place in Colorado. Like, they lost that series badly. Now, they crushed them when we got back to Philly, but they were dominated by the Rockies. That's not a team that should be whitewashing you over the course of a series. It's not uncommon you to have one game out of there where, you lose like 8-1 or something, and things went against you, bad pitching matchup, whatever. But the Phillies have had issues being competitive in series. I mean, that they had only won 3 series so far this year going into this road trip. Like, there's not a team that was playing amazing.
They were 3-7 on the road going into that road trip,
right?
And leave with a 5-2 road trip against 2 very good teams. Like, even the Mariners are like, yes, they're not in first place, but they have good pieces. They have good pitching. Like,
so that's a solid team. That is like a playoff team.
Right.
They're a playoff level team.
And then, if things continue to play out the way that they have, you play well against the Padres, you get the Dodgers again this weekend, then you go on the road, you play Atlanta for 4, and then, say even you just split with the Braves. You have arguably most important series of the season the following weekend against the fucking New York Mets.
Yeah, again, it sucks, because they put themselves in a little bit of a hole with the Mets. It's fun, too, because, you're finally seeing this team play more than the same 3 teams.
Yes.
I
feel like that's helped, too, where it's like, let's have some change.
We've seen the same teams. So now getting a little bit of variety definitely helps. It's going to be nice to get in on the Braves, too. You start getting these divisional games that aren't just the Mets and the Marlins so far. I think it's insane. Like we highlighted before, that we're only facing the Braves just now. We don't play the Nationals till June. That's crazy to me. But I'm in a way I'm going to be happy that we're out of the Mets. I wish that we'd performed better, but it is what it is.
I was very annoyed and still am. I think Jerry's Familia has taken the spot as the bullpen pitcher that I want to just launch to the moon, especially after this Dodgers series. I was looking.
God deserves it.
Absolutely. And that's just off the field. He's got like an over 4 ERA now. And I was looking at the guy who we decided to not sign over Jerry's Familia. And that's our guy, Hector Neris. Before last night's game, where he gave up a home run, so it inflated his ERA a little bit. But Matt, going into last night's game, can you guess what Hector Neris' ERA was before giving up the home run to Xander Bogaerts?
I feel like he had been having a strong. Wasn't it like 1.19 or something like that? Like
he had a .56 ERA in 17 games.
I knew it was low. I didn't think it was that. Because I'd seen someone posted maybe like 2 weeks ago. I think he had like a .79 at that point. And people were like talking about how terrible he was here. I was like, I don't remember that.
No,
I remember him having some bad performances. I remember on the whole Hector Neris being like our only reliable closer for really like 2 or 3 years. He's the only guy that was like competent. And
even after giving up a home run, his ERA only inflated to a 2.12.
Awesome. Must be so nice.
Must be nice. Because, again, the bullpen, I think, is the one thing.
We're cursed with bullpen. I don't know what it is. We've never...
Did we sell our soul for the perfect season from Brad Lidge?
I honestly starting to think that. But, honestly, we've tried every method, too. We've gone out, we've done all the suggestible stuff. We've gone out and spent, low on, lottery ticket guys. We've gone out and get established guys. We've gone to guys that had great seasons. We've bet on guys that had bad seasons in the hope that they were... we've done everything. And we miss all the time. I don't know. I don't know what it is. And we don't draft and develop well. So we really have to depend on signings in that area. We just have not gotten it right. And I don't know why.
Yeah, it blows my mind with the bullpen stuff. But who needs a bullpen when you hit? And if they keep hitting the way that they are,
you win 12-10. Who cares?
Works every time. But let's take a look at the NL East run differential, brought to you by the homies over at Pickup. You guys can go to playpickup.com, start playing the hottest headlines in sports, including the month of May NL East run differential and season long at playpickup.com. Still in second place, Matt, in terms of run differential. The Mets are leading the way at plus 35. The Phillies at plus 18.
That might be some of the best, this far into the season.
We've seen in a long time.
Which is tragic, but I really think that might be the best we've looked this late into the season now. You're a month and a half in. Not bad.
It's impressive. The Marlins at plus 16, the Braves at minus 15.
That is rarefied air for the Marlins.
Yes.
Rarely.
They're at plus 16 in 3 games under 500.
Plus double digits for them is astounding.
And then the stolen franchise Washington Nationals at a lowly minus 42.
I tell you, we can't play them soon enough.
I can't wait. But we always say it could always be worse. We could be the Cincinnati Reds.
Christ alive.
How do you throw a no-hitter and lose a game?
If you're the Reds, I guess. Like,
And that would only happen when you're playing the Pirates, the only other like bad team in their division.
it does. There is like a sense of destiny, and it's like that weird, like Western PA, Eastern, Southeastern kind of like Ohio melds, right? Like that whole area is just so weird. It could only happen between the two of them, right? Like if you had to pick two teams, those probably would have been high on the list. Yeah, being a Reds fan has got to be pretty tough. It's got to be pretty tough, I have to imagine.
I think I saw a stat from Jason Stark that was the first game a team had won without getting a hit since 2008.
I was surprised that it was even since 2008.
Yeah.
I'm just like think of all the scenarios that even have to happen for you to and then win on top of it. Crazy.
Absolutely.
Because you have to have an amazing game too, defensively and pitching, to be in a position
or even
to win.
Have a couple guys that are able to work at bats and get walked.
Right,
and get on.
It feels so dumb. I guess this is what happens though when you have like a million games a season. Like when you have a million games, it just you're gonna have those things that should never happen. Frankly, are bound to pop up more than normal.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I always look at. I'm looking at it this season. At least we're not the Nationals, the Pirates, or the Reds.
And I've always said that about me.
It could be much worse. But looking back at like when things turned around for this team, honestly, I think it started with Kyle Schwarber absolutely losing his mind on Angel Hernandez. That's really when it felt like something started to click for this team, and one guy got hot, then a couple guys started hitting. Yeah. I think that's around when Gene Segura's hit streak started. So I mean, if Kyle Schwarber just needs to lose his mind every so often on an umpire or two, I'm all for it. And if this team keeps playing well, it's in spite of Joe Girardi, who is basically just baseball Doc Rivers. I've been very impressed with the way that they've just kind of put it together the last week and a half or so.
Yeah, and Kyle Schwarber's been a part of that too. Finally performing a little better, which has been nice. But yeah, God.
We just need good baseball, man.
Yeah, it's been nice. It's been nice having a team that's good, that. You don't wake up. I mean, it's hard to watch the West Coast games live. You gotta just settle for highlights. But it's nice waking up in the morning and seeing my score app. Phillies won that.
Yes,
that's a good feeling. It's a really good feeling.
And it's one of those things where earlier this season too, you'd see they'd have 8, 10, 12 hits in a game, but they only scored 2 runs. Now they're capitalizing on getting the mass amount of hits and scoring runs. To put up the amount of runs they did against the Dodgers. Again, I know we're harping on this Dodger series, but they won 3 out of 4 at Dodger Stadium, which hadn't happened since 1983.
Dodgers are again the best team in baseball. They're great. That's just it.
I was watching some of those games and they would just be oh, this person's up to bat for the Dodgers. Now it's Mookie Betts. Now it's Freddie Freeman. Now it's Trey Turner. It's does it ever end? So for them to go out
they have a former MVP candidate who's struggling, and it's just no big deal to them. They're literally everyone else, that would be the talking point about them forever. And it's
we got 2 more.
It's fine. Bellinger will figure it out. It's cool.
He's the 7th best hitter in that
That's
lineup.
Fine. The dude was just putting up generational numbers, and he just hasn't really figured out again. It's cool. Well, give him plenty of time. No, hey, literally, I mean this. No rush, dude. We'll figure it out. That's stupid.
And I mean, just for them to go out and take advantage of underperforming pitching too. That's something I think that we haven't talked about enough with this lineup, with how good on paper this lineup is. They don't really take advantage of pitching, and it seemed like they were taking more pitches this series, really working at bats, and that's what we've asked for, the whole month of April, when it seemed like they were rushing at bats, they're swinging at first pitches. It seemed like they were really working at bats and trying to get guys on base, and then playing a lot of small ball. They win that game in extra innings with Castellanos getting the hit down the left field line because they had guys work at bats. Bryce Harper's been so hot, he forces, the hand of Dave Roberts to say, yeah, we're going to walk him, and then Nick Castellanos is just going to say, fuck you, and I'm going to go and score runs.
You've got the Dad Stellanos strength now, so you got to be careful.
Did you also see he had a burger named after him at the Iron Hill Brewery?
That's amazing. What is it called?
The Castellanos
Oh,
Brewery.
okay. I wasn't
Yeah.
sure if there was. I was like trying to think of how you work burger into Castellano somewhere. I was like, these must be some creative.
It's
people.
called the Tom Burgerman.
Oh man.
Oh man. But the Phils just got to keep hitting. You know, the next couple series this month, like we said, it's the Padres, the Dodgers, the Braves, and the Mets. Take care of business there, and then you know, we should be due for some fun, you know, month of June baseball. Because June, it's not like it gets any easier, man. You get the the Giants for the first day of June, then the Angels come to town, then you go on the road.
I'd like to try and make it to one of those Angels games, especially if Otani's like pitching. I'd love to go.
So cool.
I'd love to go see the Angels play.
Then you go on the road against the Brewers. Then you play the Diamondbacks. About damn time.
Yeah, finally now that they turned the corner too. Maybe that'll be in time for them to collapse a little bit.
They come here, and then the Marlins come here, which is a good sign because we always play them well in Philly, but can't beat them in Miami. And then a long, long road trip in the middle of June. You go to Washington for 5. So if the Nationals keep sucking, that could be really good for this team. Then you go to Texas for 2, San Diego for 4, and then they end the month of June with 3 against the Braves.
Not the best. But I mean, if you looked at May too, you would say similarly tough schedule.
May even tougher because you play the Dodgers twice.
So, listen, you make it. All it's about is making it to like July and being competitive still. But I tell you, this wild card too is tough as hell in the NL.
I want them to, at the end of June, I want it to feel on the surface for us as fans to be like, okay, like they're in a position to go make a move for somebody.
Right.
Like they're
and
gonna
it
go
actually
make a
means something.
Right.
It's not just
you're not trading for Ian Kennedy.
Right. You're not just doing something superficial. You're actually making like a quality addition.
Yeah. Also, I did see a tweet because there were issues this week with the Mariners going to Toronto and guys not being able to play, obviously. And Destiny Legardo from Phillies Nation tweeted about this and said this is going to be something to watch when the Phillies go to Toronto with the guys who are not vaccinated. She did say Zach Eflin and Rhys Hoskins are confirmed because everybody was asking because Robbie Ray was not able to travel with the team.
I know.
And everybody
he's
was
on my fantasy team.
Everyone was like, he pitched for the Blue Jays last year. How is it possible? And it's because there was an exemption until January of 2022.
I was so pissed. He was due for a start this week, too. Yeah. And I think it was on the verge of being a double start week. That's so heated.
So this is from Daniel Kramer on Twitter. He covers the Mariners for Major League Baseball. Said unvaccinated starting pitchers who have pitched within 4 days of their team entering Canada are not eligible to be placed on the restricted list for competitive advantage purposes. It's a way to prevent those teams from filling that pitcher's roster spot.
Fair enough.
So that's something to definitely keep an eye on with this Phillies team because I'm sure we will be bringing up every member of our Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs that week.
Yeah, let the young guys throw at least, Let them go get massacred in Toronto. Let Vladdy sort them out, It should actually, to punish them, they should have to face Vlad Guerrero. Like that should
Vlad the Impaler. It's because I mean, just looking at last year, like guys we knew off rip, it was Bohm, Aaron Nola. I don't know about Wheeler or not.
I think Bryce was even
questionable
about his. I mean, I think it's different now too. Like we've had a lot more time, and I think
Destiny also said
last year was tough because they were like it was very close. Like the run up was very close. So like fair, whatever. Like if you really felt that way, give it some time. Like you've had plenty of time now though to make your decision.
Destiny also said all the Latin American players who are here are more than likely vaccinated because they need it for traveling purposes.
Right? Like it just makes your life easier.
Yeah, and for them to even honestly get here, they had to be. So that helps for a lot of our team. But hey, the kid's hot right now too. Bryson Stott playing well.
You love to see it.
We love to see the
How
kids
long till
getting hot.
Moniac's back?
That's what I'm saying. That's
It's
all I
got to
need.
be like another, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, right? Because it was like a 6-week injury.
Yeah, I want to say closer to Memorial Day, so is like the first like evaluation period, I want to say.
Right.
I can't wait for him to be back. Just need it. That's the missing piece to the kids' puzzle. Boom, Moniak, Stott, and no surprise that the defense has looked a little bit better with Dede out. Weird stuff there, Joe.
Must be a coincidence. Must be a coincidence.
Also, it's very nice having a backup catcher that can hit and call a game. No slight at Andrew Knapp. He was.
Andrew Knapp had a good year last year.
Yeah,
all things considered.
But my God, this Garrett Stubbs kid from the Astros is.
Are you starting to see why Andrew Knapp was let go?
He's unbelievable. Yeah. And it's one of those things where like it doesn't matter. Like it always felt like Zach Eflin was the guy that was getting caught by Andrew Knapp. Garrett Stubbs stepped in for Aaron Nola because we benched JT because he's been struggling, like we've said. And it feels like he's a guy that can step in, and every pitcher in this rotation feels comfortable throwing to him, which I think is so invaluable in baseball, to be able to have your backup catcher catch any guy in your rotation, not just be set to 1 or 2 guys.
Yeah.
Extra! Read all about it. Life story of Playboy Penny. Extra! Read all about it.
Breaking news. Hello, everybody. I know Matt and I already recorded the episode on Tuesday, breaking the fourth wall for everybody who didn't know, because I was at the Phillies game, plus a whole bunch of other bullshit nonsense went on in my life today. I'll probably talk about that on the Outside the Box podcast and on Sunday Solo Dolo show, because we have breaking news that went down this morning before all the bullshit happened for your boy. James Bradberry, you are a Philadelphia Eagle. Emergency Eagle segment here for episode 430 of Underground Sports Philadelphia. I threw on the Birds jersey for the first time in a long time. James Bradberry signs with the Philadelphia Eagles, former New York Giant, former Carolina Panther. I am ecstatic. This is fantastic. James Bradberry in 2020 was one of the best corners in the NFL. Regressed a little bit in 2021, but hey, that's expected to happen when you're playing for the New York Giants, who are an abomination of an organization. James Bradberry, according to Adam Schefter, initially had 11 teams reach out to him when the Giants released him. His agents whittled it down to 3 teams, and eventually he chose the Eagles over the others. Anybody who has said nobody wants to play in Philadelphia, nobody wants to play for the Eagles, nobody this and that, shut the fuck up, because James Bradberry chose the Eagles, and according to Jordan Renan, who covers the New York Giants for ESPN, quote tweeted that Adam Schefter tweet and said James Bradberry wanted to put himself in a winning situation. This was a key part of everything that unfolded the past few months. He had better deals out there, but chose the Eagles. He chose to come to Philadelphia. It was his decision to become a Philadelphia Eagle. Let that sink in, ladies and gentlemen. Let that sink in. James Bradberry chose to be a Philadelphia Eagle. Howie Roseman does it again. This deal is amazing. It's a $10 million 1-year contract. It's going to pay him $7.5 million, including $7.25 million guaranteed, and another $2.5 million in upside incentives, all that kind of stuff, bringing the total value of the deal to that $10 million. James Bradberry, Darius Slay on the field together. This tweet from Dave Zangaro from NBC Sports Philadelphia. There are 2 NFL players since 2016 with 15-plus interceptions and 80-plus pass breakups. Darius Slay and James Bradberry. Now they're starting opposite of each other. Avonte Maddox now in the slot. This defense is lights out, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think it has been a long time since the Eagles have had this dominant of a defense. I don't even think the 2017 Super Bowl defense was this good and this deep. Think about this defensive depth that this team has now and the starters that they have. I'm going to go through it for you right now. Because this depth chart and this Eagles roster is absolutely bonkos banana land crazy. One of the best defenses on paper, mind you, that I can remember in my lifetime as an Eagles fan. So this is your 4-3 defense of guys on the roster right now. Brandon Graham, Teron Jackson, Derek Barnett, Josh Sweat, Matt Leo, and then your defensive tackles, Fletcher Cox, Marlon Tuipulotu, Marvin Wilson, Javon Hargrave, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams. Your linebackers, Kaiser White, Davion Taylor, Jacoby Stevens, TJ Edwards, Nakobe Dean, Sean Bradley, Hassan Reddick, Kyron Johnson, Patrick Johnson. Come on now. Stop playing with me. Your corners, Darius Slay, Zach McPherson, Kayvon Wallace, Marcus Epps, Anthony Harris, Jared Maiden, Reed Blankenship, Andre Chisari. I always mess up his last name. I apologize to Andre. And then James Bradberry, Avante Maddox, Josiah Scott. Come on now. Stop playing with me. Like, you can't tell me that this is one of the most talented defenses we have seen in a very long time. The additions Howie Roseman has made this offseason to make this defense a legit contender is insane. The way Darius Slay is able to recruit on social media is crazy. Giants fans are in shambles. I love seeing it. I love to see it. So this is from Ruben Frank. Why did he pick the Eagles out of the pack? All it took was one look at the roster, mainly the defensive line. I saw the guys on the D-line, and as a defensive back, sometimes your best friend is the D-line, he said, so I'm looking forward to it. He said, I think the overall scheme, it fit my abilities the best, and now he gets to play with one of his boys, James Bradberry and Darius Slay, who Kenny Golladay had to play against in practice in both stops in his NFL career, now has to go up against them in games. This makes the defense deeper. It makes it more talented. James Bradberry, I'm pumped to have. He was somebody that I wanted in 2020 when he was a free agent. I wanted the Eagles to go and sign him. Like, that was one of my big requests in free agency. Go sign James Bradberry. Go get the big corner because we needed it. And now he's here. I'm stoked. It's wild. I mean, to get talent like that post-draft and make this team better is absolutely insane. I'm so excited for James Bradberry to be here, and this defense, it's scary hours, ladies and gentlemen. Go Birds, fly Eagles, fly. Little quick emergency segment on James Bradberry. I'm going to be talking even more about him on Sunday's episode, so make sure you subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, because we're going to be talking James Bradberry a whole lot. Potentially try to get somebody on Sunday that covers the team, maybe, to talk about James Bradberry, but we'll see. Little teaser, little tasty treat there that I had to get in. James Bradberry, you are a Philadelphia Eagle. Welcome to Philly, and you have an open invite to come on this podcast whenever you want. We do that for every new athlete. You want to come on the show, you're more than welcome. Welcome to Philadelphia, brother. Fly, Eagles, fly. Now, back to the regularly scheduled, recorded episode of Underground Sports Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Matt, it is, it's not normal for us to record on a day before Survivor.
Right.
But before we get into Season 42, we did get Season 43 cast reveal and tribe breakdowns, which you and I were talking yesterday, being Monday. That feels very early for the cast to be revealed with.
Normally you don't get that till maybe a month before the premiere.
Yeah, it felt like a couple weeks after Season 41 ended was when we first got wind of Season 42. outside of, the promo cut that they showed at the end of the season. But I'm going to pull that up here. But last week's episode, pretty interesting stuff. This season just continues to be very, very, very good, in my opinion. And
one of the strongest people I think left in the game goes home. Andrea, we had highlighted her a lot, obviously, and she had tons of advantages. She let it slip. She let it slip to the wrong person that she had the knowledge is power.
Second time we've seen that.
That is one I
out.
think if it comes back. I think what's interesting about Survivor now is like so many of the advantages you kind of do have to tell someone because it usually involves you losing a vote or potentially losing a vote, or like some of these you have to say things out loud at tribals or whatever, or it's shared amongst people, so you have to have that conversation. But one that doesn't require you to say anything to someone, keep it to yourself.
Yes,
that's I think the message to take home from last season and this one. Shocking moment though when she asked for it. Because it really felt like, and I love that they did that again. They did that a lot last season, which we really liked, where the edits where they don't show us everything, so we know every single thing before Tribal. We find out afterwards that Omer had, in fact, told Mike. Mike handed the idol over to him, and we got a nice little play out of that. But sucked to see Drea go. She was great. Loved her exit.
That was one of the best exits.
I loved her and Mike just like chopping it up, and Mike's like, "I'll still go. I'll still come see you in Canada." Like,
you rascal.
Like that was nice. Mike has become like the most wholesome person on the show.
We know how to pick him.
We do. I'm telling you.
Drea feels like if they ever do another like all-star season, she seems like a candidate.
She would do
back.
well. I felt like she. Like, especially Rockstar being voted out was like a huge. They were like a big duo, and that was. I think that was hard for her, like game wise, because I really don't think she had many people left, kind of pulling for her and advocating for her. She really had to win immunities, and just didn't fall that way. But Jonathan in some trouble. I was so glad that Do or Die did not rob us.
Yes.
Lindsay's been great. She's honestly turned into a potential winner.
Yep.
Just with the more that we've seen from her, and it would have sucked so hard. I hope that's the only twist that they've added that I absolutely hate, and I think has no place in the game. I hate that it. Okay, so I even brought this up to my wife because we watched it last week. Like, what if no one had even played?
Right.
Then what? Like,
that's what me and my mom said.
Or like, what if just one person plays, they're automatically immune, and that's it?
Right.
Like, it doesn't reward you for. I get that there's like a balance between just don't be, but like there's two people competing. Yeah. That sucks. They chose to actually go out there and play Survivor.
Right.
And they're not. I just don't like it. I think it doesn't.
It's a flawed thing.
It is, and I just think again the fact that just because you drop first and you might be one of two people that volunteered to actually play, and all of a sudden now you have a 2 and 3 chance, of going home. That's just sucks. Like it's a bad twist.
And then it's like Jeff pulls one away, and it's like, what if he pulls the safe one?
Right.
And it's just automatically guaranteed to go home. Like,
I wonder if they tell him here are the ones, but who knows? I hope that's a twist that we don't see again.
I hope that's gone.
Is what I'm thinking about. But yeah, like. Jonathan's stock went down. It's hard to do 3 up, 3 down at this point in the game.
5 days left out there.
Jonathan's stock goes down, I think, in this one. Getting a little harder to see him win. I think the biggest jump for me was Lindsay. I think the last 2 weeks especially, been really impressed with her. Omer can definitely still win. Those two, I think, are like the two strongest. But even Marianne is still like tied to Jonathan. Yep. I think she could make like final tribal again though.
Pretty crazy, a whole tribe. For the most part, like the core of a tribe.
Talked a lot about how close they were, and then but we'll see. I think it's going to get a little messy. Then Mike, I think, sells a great chance. Everyone seems to love him, and he's been a part of some big moves. He's maybe not as aware that Omer has been pulling strings a little bit, but Mike has had agency. It's not like he's been a nothing. Like he has no strategy in his mind at all. Like he's been a part of these decisions, but Mike is another great chance of winning. So I think outside of Romeo, I think even Marianne could potentially win now. I could see it at least a little bit more than I had previously. I think Romeo's the only one left that I'm just not.
Feels like he's just the candidate to go to the final 3.
Yeah, and like he just hasn't done enough in the game. I think to perhaps warrant a win. Maybe that changes, but
we'll see.
Hard to see at this point.
we're going to break down Season 43's just cast, as we always do. It's brought to you by our pals over at Bino. You guys can go to binoboard.com. That's BINHOBOARD.com. And use our code BINOUSP for 10% off your order. That includes the new limited edition Ultraviolet board that just released earlier this week. So go to binoboard.com and use that code BINOUSP for 10% off your order. Matt, Season 43 is expected to premiere on CBS in September. Another shortened 26-day season, and it's going to be 3 tribes of 6. And here is the first look at the tribes and their names. This is the Coca tribe.
Okay.
They'll wear blue. It's made up of web designer Gio Bustamante, event curator Jay Jones, fitness trainer Ryan Medrano, fashion merchandising student Cassidy Clark, educator Carla Godoy, and pediatric nurse Lindsay Carmine.
This is weird. This is like a leak almost. It's not even like the official website. That's strange. So continuing, I guess, with the 3 tribe thing at the start. Interesting.
So we have the Baka tribe, and I swore that was just like woo in office attire. Baka will be yellow. It's made up of psychologist Ellie Scott, UX designer Janine Zhang, content creator Moriah Young, heart valve specialist Mike Gabler.
Jesus.
That is not what I thought his career was going to be either. Admission counselor Owen Knight and recent high school graduate Sammy Layati.
An 18-year-old on there? It's always tough.
It's tough.
Always tough for the young people. You don't have the emotional intelligence.
It's the J.D. Marianne role. And then we get the Vesey tribe, who will wear red, and it's made up of account manager Cody Assenmaker, computer science student Dwight Moore, PhD student Jesse Lopez, regional sales manager Justine Brennan, director of operations Neka Ejeri, and Paralympian Noel Lambert.
Interesting cast. I'm curious to see just and this is going to be shortened days again, right?
Yeah, 26 days, but I think the difference now is that these castaways will have seen
this
season 41
season
and 42.
I'm curious to see if there's going to be I'm mostly interested in the twists and what changes and what they keep and what they get rid of. They've now had 2 full seasons of testing things out and seeing what works, and some stuff has been good. Some stuff I don't mind the 26 days. I do miss the full length, but and I do think it compresses things a little bit, but I'm sure they like it because it probably saves them money, and that's just what it is.
They get to do more
right
filming like back to back.
Right. But it doesn't make the game go quicker. Right. And they have supplemented that by definitely making it more challenging in terms of less food and all that. But I think some of that too was born out of necessity just with COVID. I'm sure they just had tighter schedule, tighter budget, but interested to see how that works. But we've seen with the new diversity initiative that it's gotten us 2 very strong casts, and I wouldn't be shocked if that's just the trend going forward now, where you get a much better blend of people than what you used to get on some of these seasons.
Also, seeing where the tribe names come from, according to this, they are named after native Fijian trees and plants.
Interesting.
Which I don't know if they've ever disclosed.
There's so many strange things that they used to do a lot. I remember they used to make it a point to show them all creating the merged tribe name. They would all sit down, and at some point this season too, someone got tree mail, which they had not. Right. I could not tell you the last time. And we play Fantasy Survivor, and you get a point if you're castaway, one of your castaways that you have reads tree mail. That hasn't even happened in forever.
Feels like a decade and a half.
But you know that they're still filming it every time. You know that they put it there, and they have them come in and read it out to everyone, and they have not used it. But
it's insane. I loved that aspect of the early.
Yeah.
Because, it was always some silly little riddle.
Or I loved when Rob convinced everyone, I forget what the swap name was, but it was one of Amber's elephant's name or something, like a little stuffed elephant, and he convinced them that it meant something in the land. There was always someone that did that. That was like,
Yes.
yeah, it means whatever in like the native language wherever they were, and then it's like cutting them. It's like, it's my mom's middle name, like, you know, like,
That, and then we had the one year it was like, oh yeah, America.
yeah, yeah. No, I think it was America.
Yeah.
I think it was America. Unreal.
Oh man. So we are gonna enjoy being able to watch. I think it's this week, and then next week is the finale. Because there's only 5 days left on the island, according to a bunch of the Survivor social media posts, where Mike said that he'd be able to do these next 5 days with his eyes closed and walking backwards.
Well, don't do that, Mike. Keep them open and walk.
Keep moving forward.
Yes, please.
But that's all we got for you guys. Make sure you're following us on the socials at Underground PHI, Twitter and Instagram. Follow Matt at Matt Castorina. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Check out the website, undergroundsportsphiladelphia.com, for all of our written content. Subscribe to the podcast feed, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, where on Apple we are the number 282 sports podcast in Armenia. Let's get that stateside as well. So go to Apple, Spotify, leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. Really helps the algorithm, helps the show out. And then, of course, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Hit the like button, leave a comment, hit the bell icon so you don't miss a single upload. And be a friend, tell a friend, and share that YouTube page with everybody you freaking know. Big thank you to our sponsors, Main Auto LLC, Ducharme's Pro Foot, Security 21 Security Systems, Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated, Mark Ronchetti CPA LLC, and the Dental Wellness Center of Vineland, and of course Tomahawk Shades. Go to tomahawkshades.com, use promo code USP for 25% off your order. Sunglasses, blue light glasses, everything in between, tomahawkshades.com, promo code USP. Pickup, go to playpickup.com, start playing the hottest headlines in sports, rack up points on your fan profiles, cash them in for prizes on the pickup marketplace. Go to playpickup.com and start playing those headlines. Kenwood Beer, go to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny Tracker to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia area. You got to be 21 or older to do so. And, of course, please drink responsibly. And Bino Board, go to binoboard.com and use our code BINOUSP for 10% off your order from the homies over at Bino. This has been episode number 430 of Underground Sports Philadelphia. For Matt, I'm KB. Till next time, we are signing off. Peace.